So you guys were asking for some of my favorite recipes. I don't find this one as too difficult. It's a little technical, but it's one of my absolute favorites. I could eat this for days, I tell you not. So, it's called Carne Adobada, and what it is that it's kind of like a Mexican pulled pork. You can do this in the oven, or you can do this in your crock pot. Both are great options. So, what you want to do, I'm going to list out the ingredients that you need in the post, but I'll read them off here too. You need 2 tablespoons of olive oil, a 3-pound pork roast, pork loin is preferred, half a teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of Herbs De Provence, which is a weird spice, but you can find it. It does give a ton of flavor to the meat. I don't know why, but it does. And then you need, for the chili sauce, you need 2 tablespoons of canola oil, 3 tablespoons of flour, 3 tablespoons of mild chili powder, and the less salt, the better. If you like spice, then don't make it mild. Go ahead and use 3 tablespoons of full-strength chili powder. But the less salt of these, the better. 1.5 cups of warm water, a teaspoon of beef bouillon granules, a teaspoon of onion powder, 3 garlic cloves crushed. You want to use fresh garlic only in this. 1.5 teaspoons of Mexican oregano. If you only have regular, that works too. A half a teaspoon of cumin and 2 to 3 teaspoons of salt. Now, you may only need like 2 teaspoons or 1.5, depending on the chili powder you have. And if it's salty, you can always do that to taste. So, I'll kind of go back and forth a little bit. The first part is the same, whether you're putting it into the oven or into the crock pot. So if you're putting it into the oven, you want to preheat it to 350 Fahrenheit. You rub down the roast with olive oil and then combine the garlic powder, onion powder, and the Herbs de Provence. And then you want to rub that all over the roast. Combine them in like a little bowl, sprinkle it down, rub it. Don't afraid to get your hands messy. And then you want to put it in a roasting pan if you're putting it in the oven, and you roast it on 350 for an hour and a half. Now, I tend to sear the meat if I'm putting it in the crock pot. So if you're putting it in the crock pot, you want to put it in a hot skillet that's not nonstick, like a cast iron skillet, a stone skillet, or like just a nonstick, one that is not nonstick. And you sear it at a high heat on all sides so that all of it is brown and the stuff is cooked into that. So then you stick that in your crock pot and you basically cook it for, I think it's about 6 to 8. Yeah. You cook it on low for 6 to 8 hours. If you need to cook it on high, I would just do it in your oven. Low actually works a whole lot better. So while that's roasting, you can make the chili sauce. You heat the canola oil over low heat and you add in the flour and stir it constantly to make a roux. So you want to watch until it's golden. My goodness, I'm going to leave that in there just because it's kind of funny. Stir it until it's golden. Then you blend in the chili powder. I find that a spatula works best for this, like a high heat spatula, and just stir in that chili powder. Then you add the warm water, a few tablespoons at a time, stirring after each addition until it's thickened. Then add the rest of the spices all the way down to the salt. The bouillon granules, the onion powder, the garlic, the oregano, the cumin, and the salt. And then you kind of mix that all up. Make sure it's well mixed, and then you cover it and simmer it for 20 minutes. So once that is done, you can dump that into the crock pot. I usually wait till the end. When it gets to the point where you can pull it out and shred it easily with 2 forks, you don't want to shred this one with a mixer. It's a whole lot easier to shred it with your forks or by hand. And then put that back in the crock pot with the chili sauce. So you let that kind of cook for another half an hour in the crock pot. If you're doing it on the stove, just pull it apart, put it in the chili sauce, and you can leave it in there. It just kind of absorbs the flavor. I actually find making this ahead of time, letting it sit in the fridge and then pulling out and reheating it, ends up being so so good, but we never managed to not taste it when it's been cooked that day. It works great in a number of ways. You can pull out tacos and make tacos out of it, soft or hard shell. Toss some cheese on it, some cilantro if you like that. Tastes like soap to me, but whatever. Sour cream. Let's see what else you like. Lettuce, red onions, tomatoes, all that type of stuff. You can put them on soft flour tortillas or soft corn tortillas or hard corn tortillas or whatever. You make it into like a taco thing. We also do like a Mexican nacho type thing and use pulled pork on nachos. Works great for that. I will say the one main thing that I would make sure to do with this meat, you can also put it in burritos, is whenever you put it in something, on nachos, tacos, whatever, do a little bit of a squeeze of lime. For some reason, this recipe with that tiny squeeze of lime just makes it taste that much better. Like we run out of lime halfway through and it's still good. I won't say that it's not good. It is very good, but that squeeze of lime just kind of brings that flavor right out and makes it pop in your mouth. So anyway, not that kind of pop, guys. Okay, but yes, this is one of my favorite recipes. It's so good. Makes like 8 to 10 servings. We eat on it for like, there's usually 2 of us eating it, and it's probably 3 or 4 days of yummy pulled pork. So highly recommend it. You can freeze the cooked meat. It doesn't taste as good when it comes back out of the freezer, I found, but it still tastes pretty good. So anyway, you can always have it, whatnot. I hope you enjoy Carne Adobada. And yeah, let me know if you try it and what you thought. Thanks, guys.